Welcome to the Might in Motion podcast, where we empower leaders like you to navigate both their personal and professional journeys. Are you a manager hungry to reshape the course of your career? I'm your host, Mariana Kinney, and for the past 24 years, I've been a Fortune 50 leader, absorbing invaluable lessons from industry luminaries on how to break free from limiting beliefs and habits. On the Might in Motion podcast, our compass is guided by the 4 M's: motivation, momentum, mindfulness, and might. Each episode, we dive into conversations with leaders from Fortune companies, doctors, and entrepreneurs. Their stories, their might in motion, will not just captivate you, but ignite the spark within. Join us as we unravel the secrets to success, providing you with the inspiration to craft your own action plan and prepare yourself towards your goals. This is your journey, your might in motion. Welcome to the podcast that fuels your aspirations. Welcome to Might in Motion. Today's episode is sponsored by Pantheon FM. Are you struggling to get a constant flow of clients? Meet the Pantheon. It's an exclusive network of entrepreneurs changing the world through entrepreneurship. Sell more of your high-ticket programs by becoming an icon in your industry who rallies together in what we call the Pantheon. For more information, contact me directly, Mariana Kinney, your host of today's episode. Today, I have the privilege of talking to Meshell Baker, Chief Confidence Igniter. She's an exhilarating keynote speaker and confident living catalyst, and is renowned for her authentic, value-based, and no-nonsense approach to embracing high-performance resilience that inspires more confident conversations and generates unprecedented results. Described as a breath of fresh air, and the power of her story combined with her passion and enthusiasm is enough to make anyone want to tap into their potential. Meshell has phenomenal results and accolades, compiling an incredible track record of raving recommendations with clients such as Dell, UPS, Microsoft, Salesforce, Accenture, Women in Trucking, and more over the past 20 years. Meshell, welcome to Might in Motion.
Hello. I like all the M's.
I do too. I'm very it's
I got Mariana, Might in Motion, Meshell. It's just like,
It's meant to be. It's meant to be. Well, we had met a few months ago, and I walked away from that conversation so fired up and so excited. I think you were just coming off of presenting at Women in Trucking.
yes.
And any of my longtime listeners know I have a strong supply chain background. So that warmed my heart that you were at a trucking event. Like, yes, we love truck drivers. We love the industry. But a question I'm sure everybody is wanting to ask is, what is a chief confidence igniter?
Oh, yes. Well, so that's a great question. It varies on any day. What I do for individuals, organizations, and teams is I really help them to foster the mindset that anything is possible. I take uninspired people and turn them into unprecedented profit centers. So I ignite their confidence that there's nothing and no one outside of them that can deter them from generating from being completely whole in the role that they have in the workplace.
That's exciting because so many people, if you're in, a corporate job, sometimes people say, "Oh, I've lost the spark. I'm not
Yes.
really excited about going into work." And
Yes.
how am I supposed to get excited? So coming to the table with that whole mission of helping people and helping teams reignite that is pretty cool.
Yes, it is. And we hear that a lot, that people, like, we're in a society or in a point in humanity where adults, we're easily bored. We get bored just as quick as kids now, right?
Mhm.
So once you get a job and you learn it, it becomes redundant fast. And that's one of the things that I talk about and and I actually coach on is helping people to understand that that is an absolute certainty in life. Once you master a skill, once you get good at something, you will soon be bored with it. That's why
Right.
continuous learning is such a gift.
What's something that you do to tap into that continuous learning?
Well, so for me, being a speaker, I continually speak at larger organizations, larger audiences, to groups of people I've never spoken before. I'm always offered opportunities to speak to a group that kind of makes me nervous or scared, or and every time I speak, that doesn't mean that they're going to love me. I don't care if I spoke to that exact demographic of people. It could be a bomb. There's no promises. So speaking is something that keeps me on my toes. It really does.
I love how you said that you're basically leaning into fear, right? So
Yes,
fear
absolutely.
can be, an igniter. It's that thing that can help propel you into something bigger and better than where you were yesterday.
Exactly. And exactly what you just said, Mariana. Fear, and I'll say it a little bit different. Fear is an igniter.
Mm-hmm.
So everything you want to make your life amazing, it will always be on the other side of fear.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
so interest. There's what I say with my clients is what you fear you find.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever you fear is going to be the predominant thoughts in your mind. It's going to
Yeah.
overtake you. Like, it's going to continually pop up. You'll be playing whack-a-mole with this fear of getting fired, fear of somebody breaking up with you, fear of losing your house, fear of not having enough money. Whatever that is, I promise you, you will find that result, because our mind is only capable of delivering what we consistently focus on. So
So
whatever you fear, you will find.
and you and I were talking about this in the green room about you could be a human being and then there's human doing. So if you're doing the fear comes to you like a magnet, right? Like, because you're being in that fear. You need to be like, you've got to break that cycle so that you're getting the positive poured into you.
Yes, yes, yes. Exactly. So the way that you break the cycle is you must give your mind a greater focus than the fear. And what generally happens is people don't realize, whenever you're focused, like when people are focused on being broke, like, oh, I don't want to be broke. So what you're literally saying is, I want to be broke, because you constantly are stating broke. Whatever you want, you must say it. So if you want to be wealthy people who weren't wealthy before that, at some point they walked around saying, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be wealthy, I'm going to be a millionaire, I'm going to be a serial entrepreneur. And they said this when they were like homeless, right? Sleeping in their car, sleeping on somebody's couch. We just don't get to see that. What you see is the millionaire. And I promise you, when you start going to read the origin stories of some of the most successful and wealthy people, you will realize that pretty much every one of them hit some wall or fell off a cliff and thought it was over.
Yeah.
You don't go from nothing to massive success without having to fail fabulously at some point. If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah. The key is, how do you fail fast so you can succeed even faster?
Yes.
And that's something that
Yes.
whenever I lead teams or I've got new managers, that's one of the things I always like to talk about and try to coach them on, right? Is if you are so afraid of failing, you're never going to take any risk. And if you don't take any risk, you're never going to succeed.
Exactly. Exactly. And said exactly what you're saying, and said a slightly different way. What I implore people is, who do you want to be? Like,
Yeah.
so you took the job, you didn't take the job to fail. I'm just assuming that anybody in the audience take the job to fail. Like, in case, I just want to make certain I'm giving you good information. Anybody else? Okay, so
No,
I'm assuming at this point that everybody took the job to succeed. Can I get a show of hands?
that is true. And
You
you
would
were
love,
hired because the person thought you could succeed.
right. Well, yet you were hired because you convinced the person you could succeed. That's
Yeah.
the only reason they thought it. So what happens is what I share with people, whatever you convince that person about yourself, when you do not show up at work as that person you claim to be, you are now creating a disconnect of what your claim is. So what you're looking for is, like I tell people, you can only get an apple tree from an orange seed. So let's just put it as simple as possible. When you claim something or you make a promise or a commitment, you're planting a seed of possibility with another human being. You're creating a bond in a relationship with that person. When you do not keep the commitment of what you said, there always is friction and problem. So when you go and you tell these people that you're going to be better than sliced bread when they hire you, and then you show up and you're milquetoast, you're going to always have problems at work.
Yep. But it's the same conversation you have with yourself too, right? Like, oh, I'm going to get up tomorrow morning. I'm going to go work out. And then I hit snooze 15 times.
Yes.
You're breaking a commitment that you made to yourself. Now yourself thinks you're lying to yourself.
Yes, exactly. And that's so this is the bane of human existence, is that people it's called integrity, when you keep your word. And the first word that is meant to be kept is to self. And most people, and the way you learn to keep word to self is that's parenting. When people, that's what discipline is. When you teach children to be disciplined and teach them about integrity and all of that, they learn how to get up and keep their commitments. They learn how to straighten their room, and they learn how to certain things. This is not happening in normal conversation anymore. This is almost non-existent in humanity. Right. So what happens is then people become adults and they can't figure out why they're struggling to understand why they are not able to achieve the outcomes that they desire.
Yep. Yeah.
And it all starts with in order to create any great outcome, it always is preceded with a great habit. And the habit is, and it is one of the highest levels of integrity itself, because what you're doing is you're making a commitment that you will consistently and persistently do something over time, regardless of pain, difficulty, setbacks, right? That's all of that. That's what people who, healthy people or wealthy people, anything that creates an incredible outcome generally starts with a habit that's massively hard and feels almost impossible to keep.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, you have a blog. I know if anybody goes to your website, they can go check out your blog and all that. But one that stood out to me was silence is a superpower. Sometimes we're afraid of silence. Like, what do you mean I'm supposed to be quiet? I can't spend time with myself that long, right? I got to fill the void. Tell us a little bit more about your thoughts on what silence is and how it is a superpower.
Yeah, so great question. And I love this topic because, like me, like many people were, raised by the TV, right? So it was not taught to be silent and all that, except when they want to hear you and you got in trouble, right? Go sit in your room, be quiet, kind of thing, right? So it wasn't ever attributed to a good thing.
Right.
So what I discovered, and what many people discover, everything we need to know to succeed is already inside of us. Right. So what you will do is, and I have learned this as I have, done coaching and therapy and, research and podcasts. When you start studying what I call the GOATs, the greatest of all times, they pretty much every one of them has some level of routine. And most of them start with the morning routine. As time goes on, they can gravitate to do it at whatever time. And the most powerful way to start your mindset routine is in the morning, because whenever you do not start in the morning with making yourself a priority, you will struggle all day.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is sitting silently to allow yourself to hear yourself. The voice inside of you is the subconscious, the unconscious. It makes 90% of decision. It does 90% of decision making. The person listening to this right now, this is 10% of your conscious listening to this. The other 90% that controls you, the nagging voice, the voice that reminds you, the voice that, oh, I heard what she said before, and oh, she doesn't know anything, right? The voice that judges people and nitpicks at every little thing and nitpicks at you. That voice is 90% in control. And until you turn that voice until your friend, until you're till I call it your champion and your cheerleader, until that voice is telling you good things, reminding you that you can, telling you, no, we don't stay down, we get up. No, you don't let people talk to you like that. No. So when that voice starts reminding you of who you are, everyone is created for greatness. The chances of you being born are like 300 million sperm in you. You won. You won the lottery at birth. You were given something great for this world. And until you sit silently and hear it from inside of you, because see, once it comes from inside of you, no one can take it from you. So the most powerful gift you give yourself is confidence of mindset and resilience and fortitude of intuition, of listening to what's inside of you. Because what happens then is you go out into the world, and when people say things to you, like, that's where the vision comes from for something great in your life. And when I say great, you could mean be the greatest preschool teacher ever and get an award and accolades, and like everyone, like 80% of your class went on to college in a neighborhood where no one goes to college. Greatness is by your definition of excellence at whatever you've been given. That's what greatness is to me. It doesn't mean like, you went and did an IPO for a $500 million company. Greatness is the excellence of who you are, where you are, with what you've been given.
And when you, like, what's your morning routine? How do you get into that time of silence?
Oh, so and again, people listening to this, whenever I work with a client to create their morning routine, everybody creates their own recipe. No two clients are ever the same. And I tell people, I will never tell you what to do. I give you a list of things that you can pick from, and then you pick it and you start. And all I tell them is they start with 15 minutes every morning. 15 minutes is less than 0.01% of your day.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's the first thing in the morning. So I start every morning when I wake up. I actually listen to something inspiring in my own voice. And then I go into slide out of bed and I go into meditation. And then I do a little exercise, right? So stretching, and then I meditate. So, and then I do things all throughout the day. So it doesn't end in the morning. My practice goes through all throughout the day, where I'm periodically stopping and regrounding myself in who I am, not the circumstances.
I love that.
But it starts, and that's what happens is it starts small. I always tell, start small, just stick with 15 minutes. So the rule of thumb with every client I've ever helped with this is they start with 15 minutes. And every client I've ever had, I've been trying to do a morning routine. I've been trying to meditate. They've all attempted some form or fashion of this. Now, what I tell them is all you're going to do is focus on the 15 minutes. Because once that gets consistent, once you lock that in, I never have ever told a client to expand their routine. What happens is once it locks in, you will tell yourself to expand. And that's when you start, that's when the silence becomes a superpower, when you start talking to you in a favorable and powerful way. And that's when I'm incredible at helping my clients elicit that greatness that exists in them.
Oh, I love that. And that's something, it can be a challenge, right? But having that morning routine is so key. One of the things I've tried to do recently is not immediately look at my phone, right? Have that, here's this time block of, for me, it's a Bible reflection, it's stretching, and then it's just, like you said, I have 15 minutes of silence. And sometimes that's, I can keep my mind clear. Other times I'm rolling through the Rolodex and I have to remind myself, no, this isn't my Rolodex time of what's happening for today. It's my quiet time. And I have to recheck myself but that's practice. That's like anything else.
Yes. Yes, and absolutely. When you look at, we love that you mentioned the Rolodex. I tell when you look at social media, you will immediately feel inadequate
Yes.
because you're looking at the highlight reels of other people. So your mind will start to feel inadequate. If you look at your calendar, you'll be in scarcity of time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at your emails, you'll be overwhelmed. And you'll look at the news, you go into fear. So all of these will monger. So however you start your day dictates your day. It is the overwhelming thoughts that will linger in. When you start doing this work, you'll start paying attention, and you can almost tell who watches the news and who does social media. And you can tell like their presence.
Yes.
You're over time, as my clients do this, generally between third and fourth week on the coaching calls that we have that are once a week. I know they don't even have to tell me if they're doing the routine. I
Yeah.
just ask the question. I just say, how's the routine going? And I know what the answer is because how they present themselves, how they show, how their energy and their spirit, what they're telling me as we're on the call, it tells me everything because
Yeah.
they begin to transform who they are just by doing that 15 minutes.
That's amazing. It's so true. It's these little things that help set the stage for your day. And you're creating those habits, right, that you mentioned before. Those habits then become so ingrained that you don't even want to start your day without them, right? It becomes part of who you are.
Right.
And that then allows you to be in that grounded state, that state of authenticity. You're bringing your best self to work or to your family or whatever is your passion because you've spent that time working on you first thing in the morning. Love that.
Absolutely. You cannot give from an empty tank.
No.
And people often ask me, how are you so bubbly and how do you have so much energy? And like every time I talk to you, I get excited talking to you. And I'm like, because I'm in overflow. I've been doing this so long that my morning routine fills me to overflow. So I've learned, and as my clients learn, I give from the overflow. I don't give from my tank. So
Ooh,
I
I
stay
like that.
full. And that's what most people don't know how to do. That's why they feel like they're being torn in pieces, right? And I'm like tired, and no, I don't have time. And they've not done a practice where they are literally feeling themselves like God, universe, divine, Buddha, Allah, the source. I call them God. You call them whatever you want. Is infinite, unending, and unlimited. The reason you keep running out is because you don't tap in.
Yes. Yeah.
And then when you tap in first thing in the morning, that will, and it's the consistent. And so people will do it looking for a result. It's not working. It's not working because you're looking for a result. What I am teaching you is who you're becoming and who you're being. So if you think about this, if you want this life you want, this morning routine is for the rest of your life. Why are you looking for a result?
Yes.
Stop looking for a result and just keep doing it until you can't do it, until you can't not do it. And when it becomes part of your identity, you don't have to, need to, or should. It just is. The minute you say you have to, need to, should, it is not who you are. It is not your identity. You want it to be, and it's not.
Right. You have to start becoming it.
You must, becoming it, because once you become it, it becomes it's integrated. So you no longer think about it.
Right.
That's the whole point. That's why habit is so powerful. Atomic Habits is an incredible book. And that talks about habit stacking and starting small and then creating accountability, right? So I have lots of accountability on my calendar for sales and for, talks and coaches and right. And this is one thing I find so interesting is people want incredible, amazing lives. And I always ask, so if you're listening to this and you want an incredible, amazing, or wonderful, or even a better life, my question to you is, what have you done that's incredible recently? Or what are you consistently doing that's incredible? What are you consistently doing that's amazing? What are you consistently doing that's wonderful or better?
Yep.
If you're not doing anything that you can roll off immediately, then stop looking for those outcomes. We are like literally, it's math. You get what you give.
Yes. I love it. I love that whole concept of you have to become it. You have to start executing, and then the results happen. But if you're sitting there going like, well, I want to be buff, but you never lift a weight, or you never look at like what you're consuming, or hey, I want to be the VP in my company, but you're not doing the things that are going to, propel you. You have to do that. You have to become that. You can't, it's just not just you wake up the next day and magic fairy dust comes down and all of a sudden you've got it. That only works in movies.
Exactly.
And it usually ends up backfiring on the main character in some way, shape, or form, right?
Well, there's the hero's journey. So in every movie,
Yeah.
there's that arc where they everything falls apart, and that's real life. That's attributed to the real life. That whenever before you have a breakthrough, you will always have a breakdown. So
Yeah.
I always tell people, it's working when it gets so hard that you want to give up.
Yeah.
That's the part where you just dig in and you just really start to speak to yourself and upon yourself, like, I'm so grateful for all this pain because I will appreciate the promise that's on the other side.
I love that. Now you mentioned that you do public speaking, you
Yes.
go into corporations, you do coaching. Give us a little bit of an overview. If somebody wants to work with you, what does that look like?
Yeah, great question. So where I am often hired is I work with, I call them male-dominated industries. So I work in transportation and trucking and manufacturing and aviation and automotive and auto care. So that's where I've been doing most of my work over the last 18 months. And I do a lot of women's conferences, initiatives, and things of that nature, like women in trucking, women in auto care, Volvo, UPS, Wabtec, companies like that. And the work I do is around confidence, imposter syndrome, and leadership. So I'm really brought in because in these industries, and I know, somebody said, aren't all male industries male dominated? And I was like, you can go into beauty or you can go into retail. Those are not male dominated, right? But these are really traditionally where they were male only. There are a lot of boys club mentality still in place, and it's challenging as a woman. And these are companies who want to hire, retain, and promote women. Yep. Because they know that when you have more women in leadership, your company does better, right? Data and statistics have shown this year after year after year. And so they want that. And what they're discovering is that in these spaces, it's a struggle. It's a struggle when you're the only one. And I know I've worked as, the only woman, the only black woman. And it's not an easy position. And it's my mindset that has always kept me above, right? It's always understanding that I'm here for a season or a reason, and I am going to ensure that my time, and these people here, I don't care how foul these men are, they don't dictate who I am. And and it's only words. Like I always say, as long as you don't touch me, we don't have a problem. Right? And so it's really a joy to go in and really help, and there's men there as well, because you have the allies there and the men who are hiring these women. But it's really a joy to go in and help them to, in these presentations I give, to really watch all the light bulbs go on and have them come afterwards and go like how fast they know they can go back to work and apply what they've just heard me share with them, so that they can turn things around in the workplace. Because the one thing I expect anybody listening, when you don't like your job, you have literally committed to a miserable life.
Yes.
It's not just the job. Your life is going to be miserable. It will be miserable because as soon as you wake up, remember, whatever the first thought you wake up with that you hold is the thought that will be the presiding thought of the day. So if you hate your job, as soon as you wake up, what are you thinking? Oh my God, I can't believe I got to go to this job.
Yep.
And you go and you get up and you get dressed and you're short and you can't. So you cannot create favorable, powerful, profitable, any kind of good outcomes from a negative mindset. You can't. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Right? It's the law of physics. And it's energy, negative and positive energy. We're energy as human beings. Like you're either negative or positive. That's it.
Right.
So either discovering how to create an incredible outcome where you are, because most people I work with, they don't need to leave where they are. They just start understanding how to experience what's happening at work differently. And then some people recognize once they experience it differently, they go, oh, well, guess what? I don't need to be here.
Right. I love it. So if somebody is like, man, she's really resonating with me. I know we've got on the screen your website, LinkedIn, Instagram, all the things. For our listeners, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
So the best way to connect with me, I always tell people, is LinkedIn. That's where I live as my, I have all the other ones on there. Is the LinkedIn. If you go to my website and you're interested in me speaking, you can hit the speaker tab, and there's actually a link where you can schedule a chat. You can schedule a call with me, and then we can discover where the opportunity is. And it'll ask you a little bit about the details, like, the dates, how many people, those kind of things. And I definitely say LinkedIn. This year, I'm on a mission to do what I call Mondays with Meshell. So if you subscribe to YouTube, you'll start getting those every Monday, just little 5, really short. My goal is to stay within 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes of something that's motivational, inspiring, and uplifting on Mondays for people. So yeah.
Love it. I love it. I wrote down nuggets that I gathered today. Some of the big highlights I have is that, it's about silence, right? So what we need to succeed is inside of us. So the greatest of all time, the GOATs, right? They all have a morning routine that includes that time for you to reflect and listen to that inside voice and propel that inside voice into a positive mindset, right? Instead of like being in that negative space. You also mentioned that when you do that, you can create overflow. Then you can give from the overflow instead of from your tank.
Yes.
That's huge, because many of us, we just feel so drained and we're tired, or there's just nothing left for anybody else. But if you're able to find those things that ground you and pour back into you, you
Yes.
then have that capacity, right?
Yes.
And then, I also wrote down, about fear, right? You want to give your mind something greater to focus on than the fear, because if you're only focused on the fear is going to become fulfilled. You want to be fulfilling the thing that's greater than that in your life. And that you've got to fail. So you're going to have to fail to be able to succeed. So don't be afraid to take those risks to push beyond, because that success is right beyond that what seems like a wall. Like, how do you got to be able to break through it? And you talked also about integrity, and that creating habits is the highest level of integrity that you can have with yourself. And then that ends up resonating to everybody around you. So those are some of the nuggets I took away today.
Yes.
I go back, re-listen. There's probably a million more from Meshell here.
There's a lot of nuggets. And, like I said, I highly encourage you to just pick one and focus on it. If I was to give you any one of all the nuggets she gave, I would say start with the morning routine, because that one is going to give you the most exponential results over time. It will, all the other things begin to fall in place in your life when you take care of yourself first thing in the morning.
I love it. I'm a big believer on it as well. So highly recommend you, to your point, pick one, focus on it, and start at the very beginning. Start with your first thing in the day. It's just 15 minutes. So you should be able to carve out that time. That's amazing. This was so awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on Might in Motion.
Thank you for joining us on another insightful episode of Might in Motion. Your time and commitment to personal and professional growth is truly appreciated. As you continue your journey, remember the power lies within you. Apply the wisdom shared by our incredible guests. Harness the 4 M's: motivation, momentum, mindfulness, and might, and make your path towards success uniquely yours. If you found today's episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback fuels our mission to empower leaders like you. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and always keep your might in motion. Until next time, this is Mariana Kinney signing off, wishing you boundless success on your journey ahead.